Welcome tonight to our fourth edition of Tigerland football. We've got three different guests with us tonight. We've got one of our freshman coaches, Dave Packard, and we've got two more of our seniors, Brian Laux and Jason Matera. Last week we went up and played at Grand Island. Grand Island had one heck of a football team. They shut us out 27-0. At times we were pretty satisfied as coaches with the effort that our kids gave, and then at other times, especially on the defensive end of the football, we felt that we were probably not wrapping up like we should be and let them have a lot of extra yards. They did have a great football team, as I mentioned. We felt, even though they were highly ranked and had the #1 defense going into this game, that we should have probably been able to score on them a little bit. But with that game passed, we're looking forward to our homecoming game. We've got the North Platte Bulldogs coming into town, and we'll talk more about the North Platte game in just a minute. I'd like to introduce my guest tonight, Coach Packard. This is his first year back with us as a full-time coach, and we're real pleased that he is back on our coaching staff and working with us. And Coach, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your duties at the freshman level?
Well, I chiefly have the line of the 9th grade players. I have been, more than passively interested in football here for a number of years, having helped out down in a weight room for some time. The reason I'm back in is because I've always liked the sport. Once you're in it, it's pretty hard to get out of it. There's a certain lure of assisting young men in developing their manhood that is still attractive to me, and from my standpoint, there aren't many pure sports left around, and high school athletics happens to be one. I enjoy being associated with that.
Well, we're real glad to have you, and I know talking with Coach Sadjovic, who we had on a couple weeks ago, he sure enjoys having you and thinks you're doing a heck of a job down there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your teaching duties, Coach?
I've taught English here for, this is the 21st year I've been here. I like that work too, and I'm chiefly good at that. I'm not terribly good yet as a football coach, but I'm still an old dog, but I will learn pretty fast. Coach Leitner, Coach Olson, and all of the rest have helped me here in getting some of the specifics, the steps. There are a few things I bring to it, having just been a student of the game in some ways over the years, and one of them has to do with strength training and weightlifting. When you're built like I am, that's about all you can do. You can't jump or much else. But I do believe in the importance of that and want to try to do some inculcating of that skill into our players, if I could be of some assistance there.
Well, I'm sure you can, and even this summer you spent a lot of time up in the weight room with us and helping our younger kids and even some of our upperclassmen, and that's really important. One thing we need to do here at Hastings High, if we expect to compete with the scheduled football teams that we've got, is to really get going on our weight training program. And we could sit here and tell some stories about the summer, but the one story I will tell is the first day that we opened up the weight room this summer, I think we had 10 football players show up. And between our upperclassmen and our freshman football team, we've got over 100 kids out for football. So we were looking at about 1/10 of our football population coming into the weight room. And for various different reasons, who knows exactly what they were, but they just weren't coming. So we got on the phone, we called all the players, and we probably ended up averaging somewhere between 30 and 40 kids a day. We open it up in the morning and in the evening. We try to catch the kids that are working, detasseling, the kids that are doing different things. How do you see the summer weight training program, Coach, benefiting our football program?
Well, your game this weekend with North Platte may have already been decided, and a good deal of it is back there in July and back there in November and that sort of thing. It's just indispensable. It's pure logic. This is a game of strength and speed, and if you simply ignore the strength aspect of it and think like we thought 30 years ago, the little bit of motivation will overcome somebody who just simply has the speed and the strength on you, you're a dreamer. You can't play this sport without it. I think that parents of young men who are sincerely interested in their kids playing this great American sport ought to take seriously strength training, not just from a competitive football standpoint, but because it's a thing that youngsters nowadays don't get like they used to get when they threw the bales and when they lifted the things. They ride their bicycles, and that's the extent of it. So, and from that aspect, it's not only good for sports, but it's good for the whole young man.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct, and that's one thing that we really want to try to do is emphasize the importance of the strength training. Maybe a little plug here for our new gymnasium that hopefully is going to be built here soon. We really feel great about the board's decision to put up the new gym, which we desperately need, and also at the same time adding a new weight facility. We really encourage those of you in town to stop in sometime and take a look at our facility that we have right now, where we work in a room that used to be a classroom. And every one of our freshmen students, girls and boys both, at some time during the year are involved in our weight training program. And we've got various programs that we put them on depending on if they are the average student or someone that is interested in increasing their size as well as their strength. But then at the same time, we also have about 14 or 16 other classes of upperclassmen that come into our weight training room each week. And we are really hurting for room there. And I think the decision by the Board of Education to go ahead and add the new gym and also the weight facility is going to be a great improvement to our school system. It's going to do a lot of great things for our students here, and not just the athletes alone, but for our whole student body. And that's a step in the right direction. I'd like to commend the board on making that decision. Switching over to the football players a little bit, Brian and Jason, you were both involved in our weight training program. How do you see that as being important into football?
There's no substitute for strength. When I was a freshman and stuff, I weighed about 132, and I didn't think I'd be very big at all. But I started lifting weights, got on the bigger, faster, stronger program, and got my weight up and pretty big. Pretty big.
It really helps, doesn't it? And not only on the strength part of it, but it also helps to give these kids confidence and courage to, when they step up there on the line of scrimmage, they know they've got the strength, they've got some speed, they've got some power to get the job done. Jason, you were one of the, probably out of the whole senior class, you probably attended more strength training sessions than anybody else. How do you think that's helped you this year?
Well, I'm a lot bigger and stronger and faster, and I can stay up there better with the bigger guys.
Jason has maybe a little disadvantage as a size, and when you look at Jason, he's not a great big kid, but he plays defensive end for us. And in our scheme of things, our defensive end not only has to have some strength, but he has to have some quickness too. And Jason does a nice job for us there. Sometimes he gets outmanned. For instance, this last week against Grand Island, he was running up against a big Chandler kid that was about 6'6", 260, or maybe even closer to 270. That's a pretty big boy, but part of the reason Jason was able to hold his ground as he did was because of his strength and his quickness that he's developed through the weight training program. Fellas, looking ahead now to the North Platte game, this is homecoming week, and we realize homecoming is an exciting time, not just for the football players, but for the entire student body. Jason, how do you see the homecoming thing falling into place with our football game?
Well, I think we got to concentrate on the football game first and have fun at the dance later and make sure we win.
Okay, well, that's pretty quickly said, but I like that attitude. I think that's something that all the players need to think about is all the homecoming festivities are great. And, being involved with those types of things as coaches, as we were earlier, homecoming is great, but we really feel that it centers kind of around the football game on Friday night, and that's got to be the focus for our football players. Brian, how do you see it?
The way I look at it like any other game. I'm just going to prepare like any other game, and I hope the players do too. There's going to be a lot of festivities going on. There's going to be a bonfire Thursday night, but I'm just going to look at it just like a usual game.
Okay. Sizing up North Platte a little bit, Brian. We watched a little bit of film on them. I know it's early in the week. How do you think we're going to size up against them?
They're a good team. Norfolk, that's how we've been comparing them to this week. But they're going to be tough to beat. The fourth quarter, if we're there in the fourth quarter, we'll win.
Okay, Jason, how do you see them? They don't have the size maybe of the North Platte team of last year. They don't definitely have the size of Grand Island that we played last week, but they are definitely a good football team. How do you see them?
Well, I think if we just play tough and stay in there fourth quarter, like Brian said, we can take them.
Yeah, I think right along with that, it's going to be important that we don't make the big turnovers. We don't let them have the big plays like we did the North Platte game and the Scottsbluff game. And if we can stay away from those type of things, then when the fourth quarter comes around, we're hoping to be in a position where we can be ready to do some winning. And we definitely need, for a program, to get a win under our belt this week. And it's not going to be any cakewalk, obviously. Early in the year, Norfolk got beat by North Platte by a couple touchdowns. Maybe it was a little closer game than that, than what the score indicated. Then North Platte has also beat Beatrice. They got beat by Sterling, and then kind of maybe in what everybody thought was a surprise, the second week of the year, Kearney beat them 35-0. So we feel we can play with these people. We feel we're going to have to play a complete football game in order to be with them, as the fellows have been saying in the last quarter. Coach, the freshmen have another big game this week. What can you tell us about the next freshman football game?
We have played 3 games thus far and have not been out of any game. The game is against Barr Junior High in Grand Island. Our next 2 games are with Grand Island teams. They're always tough. I might tell you thus far that our team has played pretty well on occasion. We haven't won anything yet, but we've been in every game. With our team, it has been the case, as it has been with the varsity in some cases. Big plays, a receiver gets behind us and that sort of thing. But we're growing. We have as an objective to continue to play better each week. Right now, we're a pretty good defensive team for freshmen. We are not terribly good at blocking yet. We know the fundamentals. There is the continual problem of facing youngsters who have lifted weights and who are simply physical, and we have to fight that. Sometimes we go against teams that are stronger than we are, and that causes us problems. But I think we'll do pretty well. In years past, we have had marginal success against Grand Island Junior High teams. If we can hang on to the ball in our first games, fumbles been a big problem. If we can not give up the big play again, passes, inconsistent play, letdowns in certain areas, and play hard all the time and develop some confidence, we could beat them. And I'd like to see that. We genuinely could. We'll be in this game. We won't be out of any game we play. We have another positive feature this year. We have about 40 to 45 players out for one grade of football, and they've all stuck with us. They all enjoy the game, and they enjoy playing. I think that that's going to bode well for future years here, because I think they'll stay with you. They'll be in there come November in the weight room. They will be bigger. As you know, adolescent kids at 15, 16 years old grow in great spurts, and you could be amazed a couple of years down the line at what you have on that field and what that record is from a Hastings team. So it's pretty bright, even though the record doesn't look that way.
Well, that's good to hear, and the effort that all the kids have been given down on the freshman football team has been great. As you mentioned, we got about 45 fellows out for football. We haven't lost I think maybe we lost 1 or 2 kids through the way, which is a lot less than average for a freshman football team. I think the kids are excited about helping make our Tiger football program here be a championship program in the future, and that's what we're looking for. Even at the 8th grade level, we've got about 45, 46 kids down there, and if we can keep those numbers coming up throughout the ranks, eventually we're going to get up to the position where we've got a lot of competition for each position, and that's what makes a great program. You talk about the junior high, the Grand Island high schools. They've got 2 junior highs, so at their sophomore level, instead of having 1 kid that's been the starting quarterback the year before, they've got 2, and sometimes maybe 3 or 4 kids fighting for each position. And that makes nothing for success, because more kids are getting to play. More kids, when they get to the sophomore and junior level, still have a shot at it. We played North Platte the other day for our second time in 9th grade football. North Platte does something unique. They take their freshmen and they divide them in half equally as far as talent and numbers. They have 2 separate teams within one 9th grade program. They each play a separate schedule. eventually down the road, that might be something that we look into. What it does is create for more competition, more kids to get the option of playing, more kids to get the benefits from being a starter or being a second teamer, and eventually we're working for a championship football program. Moving back over to the boys a little bit, looking past a little bit now the North Platte game, even though we're not going to look past them as a team, what do we need to do the rest of the season if we want to be successful, Jason?
Well, I think we're going to have to play stronger mentally and not have as many fumbles and make sure we get our tackles, because we were missing a lot of tackles, and just be there and play tough.
Okay, that's important. We really need to, and it was something that we've talked about with the kids a lot, is that we need to be mentally into the game, maybe a little more, be remembering what we've done during the week, our scouting reports, the films we watched, and all that has to come to one focus on Friday night when we play our football games. Brian, how do you size up the rest of our opponents as we move down after North Platte?
Well, we have Lincoln East on a Saturday, and we go down and play in Seacrest. But Lincoln East, the top team. I feel that we can match up with any team in the state, but we have to just play ball, and then come back with Kearney and Lincoln Northeast and then Columbus. But I can see us having a 500 season.
Well, that would sure be nice. We've sure got our work cut out for us after dropping 2 football games early that we felt that we would be right in the competition, Scottsbluff and Scottsbluff and Norfolk, and obviously with the scores and those of you that got to the football games, we were right there, and we just made some mental errors, made some breakdowns, and didn't get the job done. But you can't, cry about that now. It's over and done with. We can't bring those back. What we need to do is concentrate really right now on North Platte. As the year progresses and you guys are seniors now, and you've probably been involved with football ever since your maybe 7th grade and up through the 8th grade, and maybe with some midget football, and then 4 years in high school. How do you reflect back on that, Brian? What's football meant to you? What are the good things that you've seen come out of it?
Probably the greatest thing is just being around, when your team, you're like a family, and you really get to know the guys, and you're like brothers. And probably the greatest thing is just playing football. I mean, it's a great sport, and I'm going to hate to see it go after I'm a senior.
Okay, Jason, how do you reflect back on your years now?
Well, it's been a lot of fun, had a lot of good games and memories, and I'm going to miss it when I get out of school.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. That's one thing we talk about to the players so many times as a coach, and I've only been coaching for 13 or 14 years now, but so many times down the road you end up meeting athletes that you've coached, and they say, Coach, if we just would have worked a little bit harder, or we just would have done this a little bit better, but always the conversation really reverts back to that activities they've been participating in and their favorite teachers and things. And it's a great deal that we have all these extracurricular activities, and of course we all know why we're here, to get a good academic foundation, but I really believe, and of course it's my profession, so I would believe in it, but we really believe that the extracurricular activities mean a lot to our school system, not only to the kids that participate in them, but also to the entire student body. I'd like to thank the players and Coach Packard for being here tonight. Each week we try to bring on a couple different seniors and a different coach and have them visit with you a little bit and talk about the things that are important to us as far as football goes and as far as the school setting goes. We are going to show you the highlights, or actually the game film from the Grand Island game. You're going to see a great big physical football team come out. I think you're going to see some Tigers, though, that are scrapping to try to stay into it. Grand Island has never been fancy. They always pretty much come right at you and have a great football program, and sometimes it's hard to get them stopped. I think at times you'll see our offense does a good job running the inside and outside veer, which is the whole game as far as we're concerned. And it seems like whenever we get a first down or two, they come up with a big play, maybe shoot a linebacker, and we miss him, and he comes in to get the quarterback or our running back. And we don't have a whole lot of offense. I think they held us to about 100 yards of offense, and we surely need to get more than that if we're going to be successful. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and hope you enjoy watching the future editions of Tigerland Football.